Sometimes I hear feeling in hearts with fear. Freedom we hold dear now is at stake. Humble your heart to God, save from the chastening rod. Seek the way pilgrims trod, Christians away. My Jesus is coming soon, morning or night or noon.
Thank you for joining us for a few minutes. I'm proud you're going to be sharing some time with us today because today's this special show, and I'm really proud that you're going to be with us because I've got my friend here, an acquaintance, and a person I know, and I'll admit it in public, and it's TinaMitchell. And Tina, we're glad to have you back.
Thank you, Lionel.
You've been here before. Have we done two shows or one show?
We have.
We've done two shows. Tina is something special, mamas. I want you to listen to it now. You know, go turn the stove off. You can cook later. This woman has got some information from you. She's a person that loves the Lord. She puts the Lord first in her life. She loves her family, and she loves people who are having struggles. So, Tina, tell us what you do. That's pretty watch over there. Did you shoplift that or did you buy that?
No, I bought that somewhere. I think it's the Timex. You know, they keep on
ticking. That's right.
That's right, and I tend to lose watches.
Well, you're looking great, so you must be
Thank you.
doing good. How do you spend your time? What do you do? What's your ministry?
Well, you know, I spend a lot of time in the jail and in the courthouse, but
You're a minister for Trevecca.
Right.
Nazarene.
I lead the Compassionate Ministries for Trevecca Community Church, and then I founded a nonprofit.
Compassion. Now, did you start the community church?
No, I'm not that old.
Okay.
They've been around.
I didn't know, but I just heard about it after you came on the scene.
Well, that's it. Yeah. See, it's been sitting up there a long time, though.
Okay, now.
So I serve at the church, and then I started a nonprofit called Crossbridge. And Crossbridge operates a bunch of recovery houses and an after-school kids program for children from Napier. So between the church's Compassionate Ministries and Crossbridge's activities, I work a lot.
Now, Trevecca's on Murfreesboro Road.
It is on the campus of the university.
Okay. And you do a lot of work with the ladies on Murfreesboro Road that are working as prostitutes. You do a lot of trying to get girls out, get their lives back together, get them in the Lord and get it back together.
We do. And we both work with both men and women. And, you know, they've all been in kind of all areas of the drug scene. You know, women most often do sell themselves to be able to afford the drugs. We work with men who have both used and sold, and women as well. But what it is, their lives are being controlled by addiction. And as we know, we just say they're controlled by the enemy. And we're all about what Jesus came for, is set them free.
Tina, tell me, where do you get your passion? You're a special person. You know, Darren Hall, sheriff, tells me how good you are. I told him, I said, you misguided, Darren. You need to rethink it. But no, I'm joking. You have a tremendous passion that I just really respect. What drives? I know where I get my passion. How do you describe your passion? Where do you think you get it?
Well, I know for sure that, you know, I know that God made me this way. I know that, where someone else might be very driven to something else. And I think there's a big difference in being driven and being called. And I'm definitely called. I mean, you don't have the time to tell the story but of when God called me. And I felt very strongly called to missions. And when that first happened, you know, my mind automatically thinks about overseas and Africa and all that. But now God has shown me really where the mission field is that He wanted me to serve in. And very much the South Nashville community. I believe I'll work there the rest of my life. And the jail, you know, it's a place where I really feel like a missionary when I go in there on Sunday nights. But there's just a particular experience on Murfreesboro Road that I had one day where God just opened my eyes to see the people out there in a way that I never did. It was really, truly an epiphany. And I began to weep. And I got back to our office and said, we've got to do more out there. And I told God I would if He just opened the doors, because I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I'm just a country girl from Pegram. I didn't know how to do an inner city ministry and reach out to people with addictive issues. I didn't have them myself. And so I just said yes, and then God opened the doors, and He's been there all the way and led, and I just keep following Him, you know.
It's been my experience in associating with people like you that I hear the same story over and over and over. You didn't have to wait. You go do ministry. People that's watching, they'll say, well, I go to church every Sunday, but I couldn't do what they do. See, I think they can. Now, I understand the concept you're saying being called, but when Jesus told them to love your neighbor as yourself, that's what you do.
Right.
And people, why is it that we stay in our comfort zone and won't get out and really enjoy the experience of loving your neighbor?
Well, I think it's the way you described it. It's comfortable, you know, and doing the right thing is not always comfortable. You know, it was, you know, breaking out of our comfort zone can be very scary, but we know that God didn't give us a spirit of fear, and so we trust. And I think that by having the opportunity like today to share some of what God has done through what we're doing, people begin to catch the vision, because I do work hard and there's a lot going on, but I got a lot of people doing it with me. That when people begin to hear the stories, and they would hear about like this one who'd been in addiction for 35 years, and then they're getting a strand of pearls because they're a year clean. Well, that creates an excitement, increases people's faith. And so I have a lot of people working right beside me, and many of the people working with me now are people that I met while they were incarcerated, and now they've turned their lives around and they're giving back.
Now, you said the string of pearls. Tell us about the string of pearls.
Well, in our program...
Is that your idea?
It is actually.
Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah.
It was interesting. My daughter was getting married, and my husband's sister traveled to China, and I said, hey, could you bring back pearls for the girls in the wedding party? So she did and brought some extra ones, and one of the first women I worked with was getting her year clean, and I wanted to give her a gift. I said, I'm going to give her a strand of pearls. And since then, we just made it a tradition. When a woman gets a year clean, we give her real pearls. If I wasn't getting them from China, I couldn't afford them. But so we've probably given out close to 40 strands of pearls now, and we have about 4 that are due their pearls right now. And then we started working more with men, and we give the men a nice watch. We don't give them pearls.
What have you found in your ministry to people that are suffering from addiction? Because most of the people in Nashville, I think, want to help. Mm-hmm. They don't know how to help because they're sitting in their comfort zone. 2 questions: what do people need to do, and what do people need not to do? Because when I call, here's a phrase I'm going to use, and I don't want to offend anybody on this, but the do-gooder is what I call them. They come in, they have good intentions, and they make things worse when they get there because they are totally naive about what they've walked into. But they have the resources, and they think they have the answers. And you can waste a lot of time fooling with do-gooders. They can cost you a ministry if you're not careful, if you don't stand firm with them. So one of the questions is what not to do, but what is it that people need to do? What do you need out of people? Because you've got a great ministry.
Well, for us, we're talking a lot about the recovery side of it. We do have the children's programming as well, and certainly could use volunteers. And always in the nonprofit world, there's always you need funding. But people who want to do something similar to this, I like what you said about we can do more harm than we can do good if we're not careful. And for people who want to get in this area of ministry, they really need to educate themselves on addiction and to know what it is to be an enabler, a codependent, because we don't help people when we enable their behavior. And I've had to learn this because
it's easy to do.
Yes, a few years
ago. Good intentions will set you up to, go ahead.
Yeah, someone told me a few years ago, you're just a codependent. And I'm like, well, I'm a nice one. He said, you're all nice. So I had to learn that tough love is love. And sometimes what we call love is just enabling people to continue on in their bad behavior. And really, you can love an addict to death.
And not change their behavior.
No, I mean, you can kill them by saying you're loving them, and that's really not love at all. And I've had to learn, and now that I'm really committed to my staff now being people who came through the program, and you don't get over on them. You might get over on me. I'm learning, though, but you're not going to get over on them because they can spot it.
It amazes me. I have one I'm working with here. He's got, I think, either 7 or 12 felonies. He wasn't a very good drug dealer, but you know he got caught and all this other stuff, and he got real issues. And so I had another guy come in, and I knew that he was needing a little help, you know, financially, you know, need to rent money and all this good stuff. And the guy that was working here with me, when he walked off, he said, "Man, he's into drugs big time. Don't give him anything." And I said, "How do you know?" Just quizzed him, and he said, "Look at his neck. Just that quick, man. He nailed him that he was a user." And he's right. He's in jail now for, you know, drug problems and so forth. But the people that have walked that walk, the one thing that people that want to support you and do is they give you money, but don't earmark that money. Let you make the decision where you spend those funds because you can put them. You know where it needs to go.
Right, but we'll take it even if they earmark it.
Well, I understand that, but I have found out a lot of times, at least in our ministry, people that have good intentions doesn't know where it really needs to go. For example, you're going to work with the children, and they'll say, well, I want this money spent on the children. I want to buy something. They want to feel good. They want to buy the children something sweet or something to play with.
Yeah,
but
and we know what they need.
They're not going to buy the gas to go get the kid to bring them over here. Without the gas, you can't get them over here.
Right.
So that's what I'm talking about on earmark money. Trust your judgment.
Right.
To take those funds and get out there, because everybody needs funds just doing 501c3.
Right. And the thing with earmarking, just you're earmarking it when you give it to a particular organization. You know, say, I want this used for your programming, and then leave the leadership and the board and all there to decide where that's needed. But
now you're working your team does all the work. You get the credit for it. I understand that. I'm comfortable with that.
You heard me give people credit just a few minutes.
But they're the ones that really doing the work on the street out there. And you do the work on the street. I'm not selling you short for what you do. But they know where they can do the tough love. They know where the real problem is, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they can be trusted.
Yes, I absolutely have to have people working for me that I trust. I had a woman call the other day who handles her sister's money. One of the residents is on, well, many of them are on Social Security, but her sister manages her funds, and she said, I didn't want to give the check to this other lady. I said, listen, I trust her wholeheartedly, or she wouldn't be in a staff position with me, and you can trust her. You don't have to wait for me. And so she gave a check to the lady, you know.
That's good.
But you're right about the people who are out there doing it, like our children's program. We have a wonderful, wonderful director, a young lady named Haley Hill. And Kid Power, our program, was really just a dream. It was a concept on paper, had a logo, and I shared it with her, and she really has been the key in making it a reality. And she's got a staff, and you know, there are 49 kids and 49 mentors from Trevecca Nazarene University.
You can't get any better than that.
No, you can't. And they do the work, and they know how to work with these children, and it is a wonderful program. It is. It is.
Love the kids, spend time with them, spend, you know.
Yeah.
When a mother has 6, 7 children by herself, she's a single mother, and she has limited skills. She loves her kids, but she really loves them, but she doesn't have the skills to be parenting.
Yeah.
Any help. We're finding out now from some data, some of my staff told me the data, that when you have a person like Haley involved in a child's life, that gives the child the edge of a child that grew up in a 2-parent home. Now, I don't know how they get that data, but it's important that, you know, my argument's always been is the church has got to get involved and get out of the church building and get out in the community where the families are. Right. And when we do that, we can make a difference in our city. Right. It'd be a blessing in our city. Now, you have how many transition houses? I'm going to skip around from Cross Bridges. Is that Haley's program? Is that
Cross Bridges is the organization, and 2 programs in there are Restoration House, which is restorative. We're helping people put their lives back together, and Kid Power's about prevention, so that these kids will not be in our jail ministry someday. And the statistics tell us they will be. 42 out of 49 of our kids, their parents have a criminal record in Davidson County. And so we know that statistics say 80% of them are going to go to jail, and we don't want that to happen. So the restoration houses are helping people put their lives back together, and Kid Power's preventing the problem. So 9 houses.
I've interviewed a lot of people, and I've asked this question over and over, and my secretary gave me the answer that I was looking for, believe it or not. Why the recidivism? Why is that's not recidivism when you go back in. Why is a parent of a child, why is a child of a convicted person, why do they go to jail? Why, you know, what is it, 73? Depending on who I talk to. If I'm talking to Darren, I think I say 78%, but I throw these figures around.
Yeah,
but
I know.
It's way up there.
It is, and I used to think 65. Darren says about 80 when I hear him speak. And
well, he can speak, can't he?
You know, your secretary might need to tell me the answer. I think there's
I'm going to tell you the answer.
Okay, good. There's multiple reasons. Go ahead.
It is, but here's the one I think key factor, and I believe this myself. I believe she's nailed it. Children, when they're growing up, the children don't know the parents don't have any sense. They think parents got all the answers. They trust. Children start out, God great is perfect. They start out, they trusting. And mother gets angry with them, you're going to be just like your daddy. You're going to be just like your daddy in those formative years. And so the kids that I work with, they talk about not if I go to jail, but when I go to jail. Right. They have been conditioned to go to jail. And I think if we can teach, and y'all do this, I encourage you to do this, is Haley and her group, when they're working with the children, you're special. Right. You're going to set your own. The world around you doesn't define who you are. When we learn as churches how to get out in the community and help parents with their children, and not try to take parents' place,
Right.
but help the parents and instill in those children hope. I went to an event this week with one of our young people that started when he was just a little bitty boy riding bus to come in church with us, and he's been all over. And I tell you what, Tina, he was at Agape, and he's got him a scholarship and going to college. This kid's going places. He's an extreme overachiever. But there was 4 or 5, 6, 7 different, I think it was 7 different nonprofits in the room to recognize him, because he's an overachiever, and he got the best out of this one, the best out of this one, best out of this one. He kept going. That kid had hope. He's going to make it, probably be president. He's going to make it. A lot of our children don't have hope.
Right.
And the challenge in front of Tina is, you're Tina and Haley, and the challenge in front of Haley is to give those children hope.
Right. And something you said about they've been conditioned. If a parent's telling them you're going to be just like your daddy, and we just replace that message.
That's right.
Because they are going to act out of what they believe. And if you believe you're going to go to college, you can't just believe. You've got to put the feet to that too. But definitely what they believe is going to translate into the way that they behave. And so that they can believe you are special, you are loved, you are worthy. And, I am going to go to college is what we'll hear instead of I'm going to go to jail.
That's right.
Because they don't have to.
And we got to get the people out of the churches. We had a girl 2 weeks ago sitting here depressed downstairs one day. Secretary went up to her, what's wrong, blah, 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 got talking. She's one of 18.
Oh, wow.
And she feels left out, feels insignificant. Secretary immediately, oh, you're special, you're special. And today, as we're taping the show, she's going to school to see her perform in some kind of, because we got to have the churches involved. People got to get out in the community and get involved with people. We really do. Let's talk about I saw your picture in George Bush's book when he left the office. Is that right?
Right. It was the office of, what did he do? The White House Office of Community Initiatives or Faith-Based Initiatives. It's really his legacy. Yeah. And they produced a report at the end of his presidency called the Armies of Compassion, and our organization was listed in there.
That's a compliment.
That we do. It is. It is.
Did you meet Bush?
I did not.
Okay. I saw a picture that they had in there that it just made so much common sense to me, and I don't know why I didn't figure it out before then. You had a party at some facility where there was incarceration, and the people inside was on one side of the fence, and the people who had come out and was in your program was on the outside of the fence, and you had a party as one group.
Yeah, that's an annual event we do out there called Jamming at the Jail, and the church's choir and orchestra
go.
You
name everything, don't you?
Well, we got to call it something. And so they allow the offenders to be out in the yard listening to the choir and orchestra, and then they allow us to bring a certain number of people who sit on the other side of the fence. And the picture you saw, a big section of the people on the free side of the fence had been on the other side.
That's right.
And now they were there, on the other side and doing great. They couldn't have gone back in with us unless they had been out at least a year. You can't go back in. So it's not like they had come out the day before. They've been out and doing well.
What's it going to take to get... I got 10 minutes to go. Betsy's over there throwing bottles at me. Time's going good, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, you got a grandbaby.
I do. Peyton Renee Wilson. Mimi loves you.
We have so many people in our city that's adults and children that don't have what Peyton's getting from you.
They
don't have that love. We got armies in organized religion, whatever that term means. We got armies out there. They need to get out of those church buildings, get out in the community, and start loving sinners.
It's true. And like you said, Peyton, she is blessed to have 2 parents and loving grandparents, and her physical needs are going to be met, and she knows she's loved. I mean, she's loved by so many people, and that is the key. And, so many people in Nashville, children in particular, that don't have what they need. Not what they want, but what they need. And you said armies of religion. That is the problem. If we're just going to sit around and practice religion,
Sitting on the stool and do nothing, we let no peg or do less.
It requires relationship and forming relationship out in the community, and to not be content just to sit in a church building.
That's what Jesus said.
Yeah.
Love them as yourself. When you've got a great amount of patience, because when you start working with people with addictions, what would you what do you credit to? You don't give up on people.
I don't, and I don't know how much patience I have so much as I've learned the way addiction works, and disappointments are going to come. People will, they don't have to, but oftentimes they do. And I think it's more important. I've told people before, I'm proud that people will come to our program, but I'm even prouder that they will come back. And I don't mean pride in a bad way. And by saying they'll come back is they know that we're not going to shame them, we're not going to punish, there may be consequences, but that they will still be loved, and that we understand failure. We all fail. I hadn't got it perfect since I came to know Christ. I mess up, and there's grace, and we have grace for people, and we don't give up on people. Where there's life, there's hope, and as long as they're living, we're there to work with them.
I've got a boy that worked with me in ministry. He worked with me for 15, 16 years. We planted a ministry like ours in Mobile, Alabama, and he now directs that ministry in Mobile, but he's an addict. And I think he's been clean about 20 years now, 25 years, something like that. But he grew up in I think it was 14 foster homes. You know, if you wanted a prototype of how not to do it, he had to go through that. He experienced it. And he says over and over to me that failure is a part of recovery in his process, because he had failed back, but each time he'd take more steps forward. And he had to know where there was people that wouldn't give up on him and would be there for him. We have, as a lot of times, people out in the community, and we want to help, but we want instant success. We want to see, and it doesn't happen when you work with people.
No, and you have to be prepared to handle disappointment, because first of all, you never be effective in this line of work unless you love people. Well, there's a certain amount of risk that comes with love. When I choose to love somebody, then I'm actually giving them permission they can hurt me because I love them. And so we have to be willing to hurt when they go back out, because it does hurt. You're like, wow, we've invested our time, our resources, and they're doing so great. And it's not even about what we've invested, but to see that they go back out there, and and then the fear that they won't make it back, because some never do. They die out there. So it's a part of this work. You got to be able to handle that.
We have to trust God. He loves them more than we do.
Absolutely.
And we have to put it into God's hands. And I think that's hard a lot of times. A person like me, I want to be in charge all the time.
Right.
I told the Lord, if you let me do this, I can do this. I know what needs happening, but he hadn't turned that over to me yet.
No, him either.
But he knows better. I've talked to some young men that struggle with drugs, and they tell me that they'll get clean, get doing good. And this is with people who have an addict in your family. And they're doing good, and they're proud they're doing good, and they're excited. But they walk back into an environment where they used to do drugs. And it may be a red light district, or it may be a smell or an odor, or just a series of people they see, and just that quick, they're back into cocaine. Just make a left and go buy something, just that quick. And he said, I can't explain it to you, but you're doing so good, and all of a sudden, bam, you're back on the corner getting a hit.
Yeah, and I think some of that too is what we talked about earlier with these children, is what you believe about yourself. So some people do begin to do very well, but in their mind, they still believe they are that dirty, rotten, fill in the blank. So they begin to believe, I don't deserve this success. I don't deserve the good things, because I still believe I'm a worthless piece of whatever my family told me. But that's why we want them to believe you are a precious child of God. And then they can accept their successes, because I'm not worthless, I'm valued. And so it's a whole lot about mindset that drives people to keep going back out until they can finally accept themselves and accept that God loves them and love and forgive themselves. They're going back.
You have to hook them up with Jesus.
I think so.
A program that does not hook them up with Jesus, we got 4 minutes. A program that does not hook people up with Jesus is going to have a limited success, I think, because God can be with them 24 hours a day.
Right, and what power will they have?
That's right.
I mean, in their own power, we tell them, look, it's your thinking that got you here. Now, won't you let us think for a while? And we're going to tell them, right, that you cannot do this on your own. You and I, we can't live a Christian life on our own. It takes the power of God. So we tell them, you're not going to beat addiction on your own. It takes a power greater than you, and we like to introduce you to Him. And it's a hopeless situation without that. I really believe that. I
want to tell parents that have a child that's struggling with addiction and so forth to understand it's okay to forgive. I found out a lot of us, we don't think we don't need to apologize for forgiving people. We need to forgive people and keep them always renewed, keep them always fresh. Let yesterday be yesterday, but constantly encourage people. You know Judge Sheila Calloway, she's a magistrate at juvenile court. Do you know her? Got a PhD from Vanderbilt, she's a sharp lady.
I imagine.
And she's every time I do a program with her, it's keep encouraging the children. Say good things as a role model. Say good things. Say positive things. Go out of your way to find something positive to say about that child to get them to believe in themselves. Because when they start believing in themselves and seeing themselves as some person that's important, great things going to happen in their life.
I believe that.
We ain't got but 2 minutes to go. You tell me something good that you want to get out to the message of Nashville. And by the way, thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you. Well, I think because you have spoken to parents out there that might have children who are struggling, I'm willing to share that in our own family. When I started working with recovering people, say close to 10 years ago, never did I dream it would hit my own family, and it did. It's just been about 5 months ago that we discovered our 19-year-old daughter was really, really caught up in addiction, and the details have come out now. She was drinking whiskey every day, popping all kind of pills. Just thank God we found out when we did. She might not be alive today, but she has 5 months clean and sober, and
Great.
they had a little party over at Restoration. She's headed for the pearls.
That's right.
And and we do love her and we do forgive her, but we also are committed not to enabling her. So it's important for parents to never quit loving, but you might have to quit giving and just set some boundaries and say, this is the way it's going to be. We'll always love you, but we're not going to help you kill yourself. And so that's what we've done, and it's working with her, and we're really grateful. Christine,
well, I'll be praying for
name.
it. I'll be praying for it. I encourage you to be praying for it. But now that hasn't made you a second-class citizen because one of your children ran into some struggles.
No, I have found out that there are no perfect children anywhere and no perfect parents.
Well, I tell my kids I'm a perfect parent.
All right,
I haven't been able to convince them yet, but
No.
I keep hanging
Well,
out.
I know that God created us, and He looked and He said, very good.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think we can strive for excellence, and I know that a lot of people do hide what's going on in their families, especially pastors sometimes thinking that my family's got to be perfect. But if you're trying to put that out, people know better.
That's right.
They aren't.
That's right.
So no, we are really at Trevecca and in the recovery ministry, we're about authenticity and transparency and being real, and people know my stuff over there and know that I don't have to give up, that there is hope, what you talk about, and we believe that, and
Hope for
God
the
can
cities.
change situations.
Our time is gone. I appreciate you coming in. I tell the people in the City Church, it's a church where sinners come. Come right on in. Tina, thank you for what you do.
Thank
Good
you.
to know you. We're going to go out to eat someday and let you buy me some cholesterol. I'm too much redneck. I'll have to pay for it. Okay.
Well, either way, we'll go.
Thanks for tuning in. God bless.
Freedom we all hold dear, now is that stay. Humble your heart to God, save from the trash being wrong. Seek the way pilgrims trod, Christians away. My Jesus is coming soon, morning or night or noon. Many will meet their doom. Trumpets will sound, and all of the dead shall rise. Righteous me in the skies. I'm going where no one does, heavenward bound. What troubles will soon be, or happy forevermore. When we meet on that shore, free from all care. Rising up in the skies, telling this world goodbye. Home we will fly, glory to share.